Okay, awesome. Well, let's get started. So, my name is Karinoki. I'm the VP of Community and Engagement here at Breezeway. And if you've joined us before, you probably recognize me because I do most of these monthly webinars, and we're so excited to be joined today by an incredible panel of folks. I'm going to let each of these ladies introduce themselves, and then we'll get right into it. Before we do the introductions, I do want to say three things. One, this is being recorded. We will send you the recording probably later today or tomorrow morning. I promise. If you registered, if you have to jump out, you will get the recording. Two, we are also, while we have questions that we're going to go over, we are also super excited to answer questions that you guys might have. So there's two ways that you can do that. One is through the webinar chat. You guys all clearly know how to use it. Love this. Or there's also a Q&A function. So if you want to ask in either or, we'll be monitoring those throughout. And we'll probably get to questions at the very end. And then three is let's just have some fun. I know many of you are in the middle of summer. So I appreciate you taking the time to join us today. And I know what an integral part of the business we're talking about. And so without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to these folks who are going to carry us through this conversation. So I think, Cassie, are you going first?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cassie Sloan. I'm the Director of Housekeeping for Sanders Beach Rentals. We are located in the Emerald Coast of Florida. If you know where Grayton Beach is, Watercolor, Water Sound, Seaside, 38, that's where we're located. We manage 80 properties. I've been with Sanders for 8 years, and I've been in hospitality for about 11.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie. Lovely. I'm in Sun Valley, Idaho. Currently Director of Housekeeping for Michael's Vacation Rental, as well as property management. So get to see both sides of the world, and wow, what a difference it makes. Been in hospitality probably for over 20 some years. Back into it in the last 3 years. Worked for a great cleaning company prior to coming to Michael's, and it's a great place to be in hospitality for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Scarborough. I work for Brindley Beach Vacations on the beautiful Outer Banks of North Carolina. This is my 5th season in property management. We have 450 homes from Corolla to the village of Hatteras on the Outer Banks, so it's a huge territory, and I am really excited to talk about housekeeping today.
Amazing. Well, this is going to be, like I said, a lot of fun, super educational, and let's just go ahead and get started. So for folks joining us, we're talking about the backbone of ops. We're talking about housekeeping. We're hearing from housekeeping leaders because cleaning isn't just a task; it's essential to keep everything moving. And so we're really going to unpack what it takes to lead teams, whether we're talking about staffing, whether we're talking about those crazy peak turnover days. I think Stephanie was saying she's got a lot of turnovers today on a Wednesday. So it doesn't stop. It's not just Saturday to Saturday in many markets. And so we're going to jump right into it. So first question, ladies, housekeeping is regularly described sort of as the invisible engine of our industry. How do you guys describe the role that your team plays in the guest experience from a housekeeping perspective?
Well, I'll jump in. I think from the guest's perspective, it's everything. The minute they walk in the door, it's the smell, it's the scent, it's the look. I mean, it sets the stage. I think within the first 7 minutes, they say a guest will actually determine whether or not they're going to find something wrong or keep looking for something. So we want to always make sure we're setting that precedence, and it's essential to everything we do in this industry. I will say, in my opinion, without housekeeping, we wouldn't be in this industry at all right now. I mean, we would be still owner to owners trying to turn their own properties versus property management companies taking control and doing things that, that essentially matter to a guest. When you have a guest that comes in and says, maybe they tried the bed and they don't like the bed, but their first thought is, the place is super clean. We didn't care for the beds. When they place that above the actual aesthetic of, say, a bed, then that's the first thing they're looking for. So that's how crucial and important our jobs and roles are, I believe.
Yeah, it sets a tone.
Mhm.
We're the last line of defense, first line of defense. I don't know, it's vital. Housekeeping is absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely,
They dig into maintenance. It's a snowball.
it is. And I definitely feel like it's, it's the foundation of the whole company. I mean, you can have this beautiful house that an owner has put in our program. Then you have a property manager who's set competitive rates and interested the guest, a reservationist who's warm and welcoming and gotten this guest to book. The guest walks into a not clean or misclean house, everything else is wiped off of the slate. They're not happy with their vacation. So, I mean, that is the essential part of their vacation is this is where we want to be. It needs to be clean. It needs to look a certain way or nobody's happy.
Yeah, and I think, you guys all you all touched on it, right? I mean, without the work that is being done from a housekeeping department, it doesn't matter how many incredible owner acquisition strategies you have or which marketing channels you're on, because that is going to set the tone, Cassie, like you said. And I think so often, we sort of forget that. And I know that some people, sort of say like, oh, well, I'm going to go out and do this, or we've got to ask this department about something. Collectively, if one part of the engine breaks, the whole engine is broken. And so I think that, Stephanie, your quote, I'd never heard that, 7 minutes to find something wrong or keep looking to find something wrong. I thought you were going to say, or to be happy and just enjoy their vacation, but I should have known it wasn't going to be quite that easy. So I want to kind of dig in also about, like, there's a lot of misconceptions sometimes around housekeeping, right? And I want to sort of hear from you guys before we get into some of the staffing and recruiting conversation. What do you think is a misconception that people have about the housekeeping work that goes into preparing vacation rentals?
This
Cassie,
is such a good question.
This is a great question.
I would say people think, I mean, you pick a cleaner and you put them in a house and it takes them 30 minutes and it's the best clean they've ever seen. I mean, no one understands what really goes into the planning, the hiring, I mean, the cleaning in general, the standards.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of hands involved to get that house guest ready for the guest to just open the door and enjoy their vacation. It doesn't automatically happen. There's maintenance that has to happen. There's cleaners that have to go in there. There's inspectors that have to go in there. All of that has to be scheduled by somebody else to make it happen in the order it needs to happen. So it's a lot of hands and a lot of work for you to enjoy that perfect vacation.
Right. And I think the biggest misconception we've been talking about is, once you have a well-oiled machine, which is always great, something still can go wrong, something can break.
Absolutely.
It's the whole factor of, it's perfect example, driving down the road. You can put your car on cruise control, but you still can't take your hands off the wheel, right? Because the minute you do, you're in a ditch, you're off a cliff, or you're swerving and you're swaying. And that is the same thing with housekeeping. The minute you take your foot off the gas or your hands off the wheel, you're at a complete stop. You're backtracking, you're fixing, you're correcting. So it's one of those things in the industry. I've always said you never can take your hands off the wheel. I mean, you can set auto pricing and you can set general reservations and some things that you can do automatically, but housekeeping and maintenance along hand in hand, they are never a cruise control. They are never just set it and forget it. I mean, in a perfect world and we have robots, that could happen. We talked about that. But in the same instance, I mean, everyone's a human being, and you know, what we say and how interpretation happens it's two different things. So it's always making sure you have your hands on that steering wheel. 10 and 2.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, you touched on something, and I think we're gonna, I said a few minutes ago, we were going to talk about hiring and finding the right folks, but I want to touch on something, Stephanie, that you just said in there, right? Because, it's not a set it and forget it. And so I'm curious from you guys, when something goes wrong, right? It's not a matter of if, right? Best laid plans. We can do everything that we want. We can plan. We can use the latest in tech and automation and have the best trained cleaners. But when something goes wrong, and we hope that it's something small and minor that can easily be changed, but when something goes wrong, specifically on high turnover days, like what's your recovery plan? What's your process? What are the steps that you guys have in place to fix that, right? Whether it's somebody's car breaking down, whether it's you know, a property that is going to take longer to clean, that sort of sets your whole tone and structure of the day. Like, what are you guys doing?
I think that's one of the interesting things about this job, and actually one of the reasons I enjoy it, is everything is such a case by case basis. You know, you have to look at the whole picture. How many cleans do I have today? How many of these are going to be check-ins? Where do I have cleaners? Do I have somebody right around the corner that can go cover this? Or is everybody so far out, I'm going to have to juggle things around? So I don't know that I have a specific plan, because it really is that day, that incident, what do I have going on? Where are all my puzzle pieces that are going to make this work? You know, you just look at your schedule, see who you can move where, and move forward and hope that's going to take care of the situation.
I would say remain calm, because I feel like the team feeds off of
Absolutely.
your fear or your stress. And so remain calm, and I inspect with my team like you know, just like they do. And so we would jump in, make beds, take out garbage, anything to help
Absolutely.
cleaners out to get them done quicker.
Yeah. We were talking, yeah, that's another thing. All of our leadership team, and actually even our management team, as something happens, we generally, everybody is expected to jump in at any given moment, because that's what our business relies on and depends on, is hospitality in turns. And if we don't have everybody capable of being able to jump in and just take out a bag of trash or strip a bed or anything until we can get the professionals, which is housekeepers, which I also call them property specialists. So you guys might hear that from me a lot, because we do expect so much more from them. They're not just housekeepers. If you want a housekeeper, you go stay at the Hilton, because they will strip your beds and bring your linens. Our house cleaners, property specialists, come in and they change batteries. You know, we ask them to do quite a few things, change light bulbs. So it's a matter of backing them up as much as they back us up. And that also comes with, we'll talk about it too, the hiring process. Taking care of your people that work with you, not for you, but with you, is essential to this industry. I think it's one of the number one things that we need to be pushing out there, because I feel if I were to ask anyone on my team, hey, I have an emergency backup clean, they would all, one of them would jump in. I don't even question that. But at the same time, if they need something, we'll adjust, you know, because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to take care of each other in this industry besides just work.
Yeah. And I think so often we're so focused on taking care of our guests or taking care of our owners.
Right.
And there were a lot of comments in the chat around it's teamwork. We get through on when something goes wrong on a busy day with teamwork. And I think, Stephanie, your point around we work with the people we work with, not the people that work for us, right? People who work for us are looking for direction, they're looking to be told what to do and when to do it and how to do it. The people that work with us take some ownership. They're engaged. They want to lend a hand, and they're stepping up to do things that might even, you know, like you guys said, like be outside of the scope of their quote unquote job. But they're willing to do it because they know that's what's going to, you know, that's what's going to make or break the guest stay. there was some talk on here too about like backup cleaners and having folks, you know, in the event that somebody's a no-show or can't make it for an unforeseen circumstance of being ill or something. But I think, you know, the biggest piece, right, is around that teamwork and sort of like, to your point, keeping calm, sort of pivoting and figuring out what's on there. And there were so many things that came to mind as you guys were talking that I think, you know, we're definitely going to touch on. But let's sort of start at I don't even know if I would say this is the beginning. But let's start closer to the beginning, right? About like finding and keeping great talent. And I think, you know, I saw Jonathan is on here from our friends over at Well and Good. And he, you know, he is constantly reiterating that the cleaning professional. And I think that like, that's so important. So tell us a little bit about, you know, what is your strategy for finding and keeping great housekeeping professionals or cleaning professionals? And especially in a competitive market, right? You guys are all operating in pretty high volume destinations. So what are your tips and tricks around finding the right people?
So
For me, go ahead, Sloan. I'll let you, Cassie, let you have it.
okay, so we'll do test cleans, and we're always very upfront with each other. You know, what are you looking for? Are you looking to just work the busy season? I try really hard when I'm hire people that want to work all year long, and to not hire too many people so I have the work to give them all year long. Honestly, it's treating people like people, to treat them well, you know, and to do the things that we promise, pay them what they deserve, what you say you're going to. We don't have cleaner turnover. We have the same cleaners we've had for years, and I'll hire on, you know, 1 or 2 extra companies, but we'll keep them. And it's just treating them well.
Anything else, Stephanie or Jennifer, on that?
Oh no, I totally agree with Cassie. I mean, I was lucky enough when I came to this company, there were cleaners here that had been working here for years. They know these houses, they know what needs to be done in the houses. You know, I work hard to have that relationship with them, that they know I want to look out for them. I want them to keep coming back. I want them to feel heard. You know, if they have things going on, I want them to know that I'm gonna do my best to take care of whatever that issue is. And, you know, I think we all need to recognize too, I mean, at the end of the day, they want to get paid for the effort that they put in, and they deserve, you know, whatever the most I can possibly give them that they won't yell at me for. That's what I want to do, because they work really hard and they do it day after day, year after year, and they honestly make my job much easier than it should be.
Yeah, I agree with that. Compensation is a huge thing. It's making sure that they are paid what they are valued at the same time. If you're, I mean, profiting off of housekeeping is a tough job. If you can do it and you're in a resort market, it's great. But at the same time, it should never be at the expense of the people that work for you, because doing 2 and 3 cleans a day, I would challenge anybody who thinks it's easy to do that during busy season, and tell me how you feel at the end of busy season. And also in the same instance, you know, if they miss one minor thing, that's why you have inspectors. That's why you pay them, because they are human. They are going to make that mistake. And if you're not using inspectors, you should be. We have arrival inspectors, and they catch so many things. And it's not things that the cleaners didn't do or shouldn't be paid for. It's just things that they're trying to get out of that house to get to the next house so we can get that turn. So at the same time, trying to balance everything and then also keep them happy is essential. So same thing, we treat them exactly like they should be treated, with respect. During busy season, we do a lot of incentives, big days, we bring in lunch, or we'll bring in breakfast or something like that. I want to encourage them to keep up their energy, so they're not, oh, I didn't have lunch, I need to stop and oh, I forgot this. It's one of those things where, it's just letting them know that we care about them. We care
Yeah.
about their well-being along the way.
Well, and I think we've heard this. I remember, gosh, I mean, this is probably like 3 years ago. Maybe it was more than that, because I feel like it was like in the height of, it was just after COVID. And we were talking about like motivating your team, right? Because I think that that one thing is really clear that carried through on all of your answers, right? It's respecting your team, making sure that they understand not only how valuable the work that they do is, but also that they understand how valuable or how much the work that they do impacts the greater good and success of the company. But I think it's also about like, oftentimes we think about like, how do we motivate our team? How do we help them like want to be here and feel good about the work that they're doing? And I shared this with you guys when we talked earlier. And I'll share it again. I shared it last week at a conference. This is going to be the like teaser that everyone knows about our state of work report that's coming out next month. But the responses that we got when we asked people why they do the work that they do was truly about care, like their legitimate personal care for what needs to happen for the greater good of their company. And it wasn't about like getting a paycheck. And so I think compensating people, obviously, if you're not compensating them well, you're not going to get them in the first place. But once you have them, making sure that like that they're getting recognition specifically. And I love that you said that, Stephanie, not just when they miss something, that they're not being told what you didn't do right, but that they're getting that recognition throughout the entire time that they're doing the work, and for little things that go well, or when they go above and beyond. But when we were having that webinar, so often people think I have to do this big grandiose thing to have an impact. It doesn't have to be, right? Lunch, cold bottles of water, popsicles. There was a woman in Maine who just wrote quick, like handwritten notes, like little just post-it notes, and they put them in like little baggies with snacks and gave them out, right? Like this is hard work. Jennifer, you said it. This is really hard, laborious work. Let's have some fun while we're doing it. We want to make sure that all of the work is done correctly, but let's, if you can have a laugh or smile or work with somebody that you feel appreciated by, that's going to sort of go a long way. And again, when you have those hard turnover days, that's what's going to make people work throughout a team. Let's talk a little bit. This has come up a couple of times. I'm monitoring the chat too, which I love how everybody's just interacting with everyone within there as well. But this has come up a couple of times here as well around SOPs and standards. And so once you find this person, and I think it's worth noting that it takes a special human to be a vacation rental cleaning professional. It is not, I think about like, I have a lovely woman who cleans my house, but she's not opening my drawers. She's not looking under my beds. She's not doing 1,000 of the things that your teams are doing on a daily basis. So once you find someone and once you've hired them and you've given them the comp and you make them feel valued, how do you continue to train them and not, from day one, but just throughout the process? Like SOPs change, brand expectations change. How do you get them up to speed for the level of which your company, the level of expectations of your companies?
Well, I would say, first of all, training them in standard operating procedures, working with them. Obviously, it's not just my team that is out in the field, our inspectors. It's all of us. So when we bring somebody in and we train them, we have one specific person that starts with training them. They know the standard operating procedures. It is passed then along to that said property specialist. I also do a 30-day, what you call a, there's no necessarily bad remarks made during that time. It's, we are going to improve upon this. This is what we do. You're doing it this way. Here's a better way. One of the things that we talk about is work smarter, not harder, stuff like that. We give the cleaners, property specialists 30 days to get their feet underneath of them. And we're not talking about turns. I will not give a turn to a new hire. I will keep them in a place where they can spend that time, because it takes time. You know, you need to have that adequate time to build up that speed because they are going to make mistakes. We know that. So it's making sure we follow through. I know, for example, I try to drop it in all my cleaners every single week. I'm stopping at a place. I want to say hi. I want them to see if they have any questions. I want to know exactly what's happening. Is there anything that we can do better? What can we do to help you? What can we do to help you help us? Because that's what it comes down to. So, so for me in that perspective, other than we have some written documents, and for changes, we do have a group thread. We also use Slack, so everybody's aware of something that's changing that same day. Couple of things I've done in previous jobs is we do have operating procedures that are immediate, and so red light, green light, you know what I mean? Yellow light, yellow light, slow down. Green light means, hey, this is effective immediately or next week. Red light means let's all stop, let's stop the brakes. So could be anything from, hey, we've seen too many pillows that are yellow or something of that nature. We need to swap them out. Those examples. But it's just having that communication constantly with your team because it's so crucial for them. What they don't know, they can't read our minds and we can't read theirs. So that's what we use over here. So
I love that. 30 days of constructive feedback, not criticism, is huge.
yes.
Somebody in the chat that said we learn by making mistakes. And I think one of you said it, I didn't write down who it was, but having inspectors that are following your housekeepers mean that if you learn by making a mistake, the guest doesn't feel that mistake.
Exactly.
What about Jennifer, Cassie, anything from a training perspective that you want to add? I know Stephanie covered a lot of really great insight, but anything else there?
When we're hiring cleaners, we'll do a test clean, and I will personally train the head of the cleaning company. So we hire cleaning companies, and they'll get their housekeeping training manual. So it shows them how the amenities are set up, how many towels, it shows them all this stuff, the bed, how to fold the beds. And then it's up to them to train their people. But of course we come by, we build bonds with them, we'll check up, make sure that have everything they need. So, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. And we stay on track with them, like, hey guys, I fixed this time, but let's pay attention to the oven next time, or
Well, I think that in this, I think that in this part of the business, people are always trying to move quickly. And again, someone said it earlier, right? But everyone who's doing this job is human. These are not robots. They aren't programmed to go in and do these things in this particular order. But I think that like you guys have both said, like, you'll stop in, you'll see them. And I think that speaks volumes to the culture that you've built within your organizations, because people don't feel like you're stopping in to like catch them doing something, right? You're stopping in to help them, to move them forward, to advance their skills, to learn from them. And there's been some comments in the chat too around like, I want my team to be involved. I want that feedback. So I love I love that you guys are both seeing that. We've talked a lot too about like departure or sorry, about inspections. And there's some questions in the chat real quick before I ask you guys this. Cassie, you guys use contract cleaners, right? So external vendors. Jennifer and Stephanie, yours are internal?
Ours are contractors as well.
Okay. And Jennifer, how about you guys?
80% of ours are internal, and we have a few contract cleaners, but most of them are internal in-house cleaners.
Okay. I know that was sort of coming up. People were asking like, hey, what's that set up on? I want to talk through and sort of find out, right? Like housekeeping it's such an integral part, but it's also like that cog that sort of touches all of the other places, right? Your teams are the ones often finding maintenance issues. Your teams are the ones that are talking to the inspectors and prepping the inspectors so that they're successful when they come in, or the inspectors are working with them. I want to kind of get an understanding from you guys about how you work with other departments, be that inspections, maintenance, whomever, right? Guest services when the guests are arriving. How do you work with those other departments to make sure that housekeeping has everything that you need when you need it to be successful?
I think you need to know, I mean, the first thing you need to know is who does what at your company, right? Like, I mean, if you're missing your guest bands for the pool or something, like who are you contacting? You need to know who can take this and run with it, not just calling random people, like the quickest access, you know. I mean, I think that's the first step.
Yeah. I'm so guilty of that though. I'll be like, oh, I think it's this person. And then I like start a conversation. I'm like, oh no, that wasn't the right person. Now I've looped them in and so I think, just clear definitions of responsibilities is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it
I
is.
agree.
And, here we have a small team, so it's everybody knows who needs to do what. So we don't have as much issue with, who to contact for things. But I love that we all work hand in hand. I've had maintenance contact me and say, hey, we went by this house and it looks like the owner may have been here and used some things. It's not ready for the guest. You might want to put your eyes on it, have somebody come over and touch it up. And obviously, in housekeeping, with myself and the inspectors, we're finding the maintenance things. We're, in the houses after the guests and seeing what's been done. So we're back and forth with maintenance, like, hey, I'm already here. Do you want me to go ahead and start this? I can, get over here and do this. And it really merges a lot of gray area when it comes to housekeeping and maintenance here. As I said, it's a small team, so we all wear many hats, and I love that about the group here. Is nobody's here is like, that's not my job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're there and you've got eyes on it and you can do something about it, you do something about it. Somebody else may need to follow up afterwards, but in that moment, if you can do the next steps to get it fixed, then we do that. So I think that's a big part of housekeeping is, pushing things out to everybody so they know what needs to be done.
And I
I
think,
can,
oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say I agree with that because if you're there and you can take care of it, you should take care of it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's I remember and I don't know if this is old now. I don't know if this is like old sort of mindset, but like if you can fix something under 15 minutes, do it. Otherwise, call in the person who's sort of quote unquote responsible for it. But I also think I want to touch a little bit because this came up when we were talking earlier in the week, sort of what the responsibilities for your teams are. Because Cassie, you guys have your cleaners, right, who are responsible for everything inside the house. So you have more than just your cleaner going, and more than just your cleaner or just an inspector going in. There's multiple team members sort of touching a house in between stays. Can you talk a little bit about like what that division of labor sort of looks like?
So our cleaners clean and they're responsible for the inside of the home, period. And that way they're able to focus in, do details, everything like that. Our maintenance team will come by. They're going to do the porches, grills, golf carts, the batteries, the air filters, anything like that. Patio furniture, by the pools, all that stuff. And then our inspecting team will come while the cleaners are cleaning to check on them, of course. And then they're going to come by and do inspections afterwards. Every property gets inspected every single time, no exceptions.
Yeah. When that inspector comes through, I'm putting you on the spot here, but when that inspector comes through, are they inspecting both the inside of the home that the cleaner did and the outside work that was done by the maintenance team, or is that bifurcated as well?
They're just going to inspect the housekeeping portion.
Okay.
So maintenance has their own inspectors, their own techs. And so we've completely split it down the middle. There is no property managers. There's just maintenance, housekeeping.
I love that.
Nice. Now, our inspectors do it all here. They do inside, outside, pool area. I mean, our inspectors are making sure all the final touches have been done to the house.
That's the same how we operate as well. They make sure everything, the decks, everything's taken care of.
But I think it's interesting, right? There's some conversation in the chat too around like, making sure that we're compensating our teams for the work that they're doing. And I think that when we start to blur those lines, and I mean, Jonathan keeps getting shout outs on here because we just had a cleaning webinar last month and we talked about it, and it was like, pay the people for the work that they're doing, right? I think it's really easy. I think it's really easy for us to say like, oh, this clean is $200. This clean pays $200, and here's the list of the things you're going to do. And then 6 months later, I'm not saying that anybody on this call is doing it, but like, oh, now that same clean that was $200 is it requires X, Y, and Z as well. And so I think sort of looking at how you compensate your cleaners and the work that you ask them to do, right, Cassie? Your delineation of inside the home and outside the home, that gives you really clear definition. But I think, as you're looking at that, the scope of work that the teams are responsible for, sort of making sure that that's reflective. And Jennifer, you talked about that earlier. I'm going to give them and compensate them to the best of my ability, right? Before somebody questions me on it, because of the level of hard work. But I do think it's super, I think it's a really interesting thing to keep in mind as you guys are here in the audience today, about like, what are you asking them to do, and what of that maybe goes beyond the scope of what they could or should be doing. And so I think there's some other comments in here about like, who does grills or whatever. But I think that's an important one. I'd love also to I think this came up earlier around a lot of folks who started maybe as cleaners, then took on roles within like the inspector, like within inspections. And so I'm curious for you guys from, sort of your growth opportunities. If somebody, what does that look like at your organizations?
I would say for growth opportunities with us, it's basically, it's very simple. The cleaners that are going above and beyond, those are the ones I want as my inspectors when we have promotion time, as we bring on more homes, we're bringing in more homes. I want the ones when we are doing, incentives. And one of the incentives we did this summer for our owners, because we are very owner centric as well as guest centric. We're doing a fishing derby right now. So it's going above and beyond normal clean stuff. And we have a competition. They get so many points for, say, for example, they take the initiative to spot, treat, and stain, all the throw pillows. There's a few of them. Or they really take some time. They clean patio furniture that is actually, they take off the covers and they're washing them. Those are all things our owners are going to see. So it's owner retention for us. And then also for them, it's an incentive because we're doing A, B, and C for our, our derby. And they love it because every single day I see stuff that is just blows me out of the water. And it's something that I've always believed in. And so we do stuff like that. And it's usually monetary. So, and it's usually an A, B, or C. So it's not just one person getting it or two people or three people. They have to really earn it, but it's also some competition, and it brings in a little bit of the, like we talk about, the culture of everything. They all want to be a part of it. So they, it's something that when I get a chance to see them, they're like, hey, does this count? And it's like, it sure does. And then it's something for them to be proud of at the same time. They're very proud of the work that they're presenting. And when they figure out something completely different, they let everybody know. I have a great team. So so just tooting the horn a little bit for them. I have an amazing team.
Some of them are on here and can hear how appreciated they are.
I hope so. So because we couldn't do this without them. I mean, we're only as good as our worst person, as our least more, I don't want to say your least valuable person, but your person that is struggling. So you're only as good as that person, as a team as a whole.
Yeah, I love that. I love the challenges. I think again, we want to have fun. This is hard work. Let's keep it fun while we're there. Jennifer or Cassie, anything you guys want to add to that? And then I do have two more questions that I really want to ask you guys, and then we'll go. I know there are audience questions, but selfishly, I'm having so much fun talking to you.
Not really. Since we have the contract labor and it is the cleaning companies, they don't want to inspect. I mean, they make more money cleaning, so that's their words.
Yeah, no, same here.
Okay, cool. All right. So 2 questions, because we've already talked a little bit of how you motivate, right? Some of the fun things, the challenges, etc. The lunches, the things that you guys are doing. But I want to ask, and hopefully you guys have all sort of thought about this, but can you share a time when something that felt small actually had a really big impact on your team, on their performance or the culture or sort of the morale of the organization?
Something small that I didn't really give a lot of thought to, but we had a really hard Saturday. Really, really hard.
I'm
Took the
sure no
soul,
one here can
took the
relate.
soul straight out of us. And at the end of the day, I don't know, it was heavy on my heart, and I just sent everyone like a little love text, like, thank you so much for sticking it through today. Thank you so much for showing up. And I mean, I was just showing my appreciation, something very small, but everyone talked about it the next day, like, thank you so much. And, you're a great leader. And it just, I don't know, it touched my heart. I was like, thank you guys.
I love that. Also love because that was just like, you were in the trenches with them, and like they probably felt very seen and appreciated and heard from that.
Yeah, and my example is really close to hers. I mean, we just had a hurricane come through. We had mandatory evacuation, so we had guests that had to leave, houses that needed to be cleaned. When the guest had only been there 1 to 2 nights, we had maintenance and inspection out, you know, securing houses, we were cleaning houses, then we had to turn around and undo everything. And I was the same way. I sent my cleaners, we have, a group text, just how much I appreciated, all of their willingness to stop what they were doing because they live here. They also had a hurricane to get ready for, potentially. And, they started cleaning houses. I mean, within 2 days, we had everything done, everything back to where it needed to be. And it just impressed me so much how, I mean, they were texting me like, hey, we're done here. I know this house isn't in my territory, but that person can't get here. Do you want me to go take care of that as well? And it was just very gratifying and overwhelming to see that outpouring of what can we do to help?
Teamwork.
Yeah, teamwork
Yeah.
for sure.
Awesome.
Stephanie, anything you want to add, or we can go on to the next one?
Well, we just had Allen and Company up here in Sun Valley. And for those who aren't familiar with that, that's summer camp for billionaires. And and
Dude,
it's
I'll never get
exactly, I know, I never got my invite, but anyways. We had a situation where there was a problem with another housekeeping team because when Allen and Co comes in, they basically book everything in the valley to probably about a 95%, I guess what you would call, oh my goodness, occupancy rate. So we had Allen and Company here, and they had lost a few of their housekeeping teams with another company. They inquired with us, and so we picked up quite a few extra houses last minute. And it was something that you could feel the momentum with the cleaners. They were getting tired because it wasn't just our cleans, because they do mid-stay cleans, daily cleans. They're treated with kid gloves. So we make sure, everything we do, we go in there and make sure everything is as perfect as possible. There's no such thing as perfection unless you're a robot, once again. But at the end of that week, you could feel the morale and the momentum was just, we're tired. We're very tired. They wanted to do it, but at the same time, it was just like Cassie said, and like Jennifer said, it was a hard Sunday, Monday. Everyone was very heavy. So I was just reaching out to them and letting them know. And we had some team meetings and we were talking about things that came from it. And it's really giving them the floor. It really is giving them the voice to speak because they have a lot to say and they have a lot of great ideas, and it's really about listening. And if, as a good leader, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to sit back and let them talk, let them speak. And if they're not speaking, then I would say may need to reevaluate things because everybody has something to say.
I love that. I want to circle back to Jennifer's thing, and I'm going to give a plug for a very good friend of mine. Her name is April Burns. She works over at IC&D. And she, alongside Sue Jones from HR for VR and Rochelle Hobbs of Hobbs Realty in North Carolina, have just launched this past week a charitable organization called Hospitality Heroes. So if you want to check it out, it's hospitalityheroes.org. And Jennifer, what you just said about your team in the moment of crisis was all in for your organization. And I think that one of the things that Hospitality Heroes is striving to do is to provide resources and support for the people who work in our organizations, because they are often so busy caring for others that sometimes they don't have the opportunity to do so for themselves. And so it just felt good they launched it last week. It's near and dear to my heart. And I just think, everybody that works in our spaces deserves that support and that recognition. So if you have a chance, check it out. And it's more to come. It's very new, but
Speaking of recognition, where is your flamingo?
at the end, I'll show it to you at the end. But the people who are here don't care about my flamingo award. But I will show it to you, I promise. We're going to end with this, and then there's some questions. If you could give one piece of advice to somebody who's just starting to lead a housekeeping team, what is it?
For me, get to know the people that you're working with. I mean, talk to them, find out what they're doing, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, areas that they're comfortable in, areas they need to be built up in, and, talk to them, get to know who they are, and you can do anything from there.
Love that.
Mine would be don't assume ever. And
What they say.
and it's true. And then show yourself some grace. You're never going to get it 100% right 100% of the time. We're doing the best we can. And I mean, show yourself grace like you would your team. So
I'm writing that down.
So it's a motto that we could all live by.
Yes.
For sure, for sure. I would say all of the above, and then find out what drives people, whether it's their families, their kids, it's money. I mean, it's just about knowing who's working for you at the same time as well as with you. Because when you find what drives them, oh, it's, and I don't want to say it's not easy, but at that point, and follow your instincts. Your instincts are 99.999% of the time
yes,
right.
I always listen to my gut.
Yeah.
Yes,
always right.
exactly. Me too. So those are my biggest things, is find out what drives people, because that's a very big insight to who you have working with you.
Absolutely. I love those. Okay, here's some questions from the audience. You ready? So there were some questions around, and we only have about 10 minutes, but I think I've captured most of the questions, so it should be relatively easy. There was some conversation and there was a lot of chat in the chat. But I want to just make sure we get any additional thoughts from you guys. The difference between a departure clean versus a deep clean. How do you distinguish between those at your organizations?
I mean, a deep clean's a whole different ball of wax. I mean, we have pages of documentation for what we do during a deep clean.
Yeah, you're pulling everything out, wiping everything,
Yeah,
all the dishes.
They got to touch everything from the ceiling to the floor.
We're pulling beds apart, rugs up. It's a whole thing.
It's
right.
a huge.
It's light fixtures, it's heater vents, it's moving furniture behind dressers, it's under the refrigerators, underneath the stoves. Depending on washer and dryer setups, we have some different ones up here in Sun Valley. So we ask them not to pull out the washer and dryers, but having maybe somebody that has a shop vac that can get a hose back there, get through, inside the dryer as well. Deep cleans are very, very specific. Obviously, it's not just walls, baseboards, and doorknobs and handles. It's going through, like they said, every single cabinet, game pieces, puzzles. People don't want to come in on a rainy day and, oh, we have a 1,000-piece puzzle. We have 998 pieces. Where's the other two?
That'd be so sad.
That sucks.
That would be so
The
sad.
maintenance team
Yeah.
moves all of our furnitures back and forth.
Right.
We don't allow cleaners to do it because they scratch up the floor.
Same.
Mm.
Sure. It's a
Yeah,
good idea.
we do a maintenance prep before we start
Mhm.
the deep clean.
And
Right.
They
there's
go
a
into the
question on
ladders
frequency. How often are you guys doing deep cleans?
Once a year.
once a year.
And then we'll do a mini fall clean right after summer to make it spiffy for our fall guests.
Yeah, those crazy summers and lots of wear and tear on those homes. We have had and could have a whole nother conversation on the differences of deep cleans and things. So I don't want to go too far down there, but you guys brought up a good point around scratching the floor, ladders, things like that, making sure the right skill sets are doing the right work. And that sort of leads to a question in here about, is it reasonable to ask or expect housekeepers or property specialists to do light maintenance, changing batteries and light bulbs, tightening doorknobs? This person is saying they ask their team to take care of small preventative issues as they turn a unit versus scheduling another maintenance person to come in. So how do you guys sort of look at that in your organizations?
Our maintenance team would handle that. And are you getting them the supplies to be able to do the job? Are they taught to do the job? Are they paid to do extra?
Right. I would say it comes down to making sure they're compensated properly, having the right equipment. Like, we do ask them if there's a lamp and there's a light bulb, and can you please swap out the light bulb? If that's all that's necessary in the house. We do not ask them to climb up on ladders and replace out, chandelier bulbs or anything of that nature. We do not want them on ladders on a standard clean or return. Deep cleans, depending upon, top of refrigerators and stuff, most people aren't 6 feet something tall. So they do have to get on top of something to pull out stuff out of some of those cabinets. But if something needs a battery and they have batteries, remote control or whatnot, then we'll ask them to do minor things like that. We do not ask them to do anything else major, just because sometimes it is as simple as a light bulb, and I might need my maintenance person fixing a toilet somewhere else. So it's, that's what we do ask them to do. So yes.
Yeah, for us, that falls more with the inspectors, as they're going in. If they're seeing minor things like light bulbs, batteries, the inspectors are taking care of that. They're generally walking through the house looking at those kind of things anyways, like, are these lamps coming on? Does this TV come on? So they might find that more readily than a housekeeper would anyways. So for us, the little things like that, the inspectors will take care of. And then obviously if it's something bigger, then that gets passed on to maintenance.
Right, Jennifer, I agree with that. Usually that's what our arrival inspectors do as well too. They always carry around a bag of batteries and light bulbs, and the different sizes and types of light bulbs it's amazing in a bag. So yes.
There's some talk on here too about if maintenance teams are doing preventative, like recurring preventative maintenance, the likelihood of some of those things needing to be addressed is certainly reduced. There's a question in here around how large are your teams? How many properties are they sort of managing on a regular cadence at a high level? Can you guys give some generalizations?
So we have 80 properties. The inspecting team, 6 people, but all of our homes are not going to turn on the same day. So I would say they could handle 7, 8 homes on their list a day, depending. And our maintenance team, I mean, they're going to do all the ones we would. There's probably about 6 of them, 5 of them.
Yeah, and we're the same way. If it has a turn, it has an inspection scheduled. We all have different territories. I mean, I do inspections, and then we have 2 other inspectors. If it's a turn, it's on their schedule. If they can get to it, not always. I mean, if you have 20 houses on your schedule, that's not going to happen. But we try to at least put eyes on it to make sure there weren't any damages, that there wasn't anything, crazy that we need to deal with. And, that's just the nature of the island.
Well,
Yeah.
that brings up a point too, is there was a question. I'm not going to be able to, I'm going to paraphrase it because I'm not going to scroll back up and try to find it. I'm sure I will miss it. But keeping the peace between inspections and housekeeping. What are there any tips that you guys could advise on, like, making sure that people don't feel like fingers are being pointed. They're not being overly, no, I
Single
can't.
out.
Yeah. Or like, there it just seems like this particular person was saying they're sort of running into some internal struggles, because just the nature of the job. And so, can you talk a little bit about how you talk through that and train your team?
Sometimes, I mean, people are just not going to get along with each other. So, I mean, one certain cleaner might not get along with the inspector, period, regardless if everyone's being respectful. I just tell everyone, treat people like people and be respectful. And then if they do have issues and they can't get along, I'll switch it out. I'll put a different inspector in that home and see if that makes a difference.
Same people, same cleaners and same inspectors typically handling the same properties for your portfolios?
Yes.
Specialists? Okay.
I would say also it's setting the precedence. So when my inspectors go through, they don't necessarily know who cleaned the property until they're done. So that is very important as far as that kind of keeps out the personal side of things. And then the other side of it is when they do find something, we do have a channel where they'll post, I found this, this, and this. And then my team is notified, my leadership team, my trainer, my field leader, me. It's usually we're tagged like, hey, this is what we found today. This is what it is. They don't even know who the cleaner was. And so then because if we have to have a cleaner go back, if it's more out of their scope of work and for somebody that needs to go back, I don't want any type of personal interaction with that. That should be very clear cut, in my opinion. It should be very much the inspector has the final say, and they shouldn't know who they're inspecting, because then that keeps that level of back and forth out of the picture, because then no one can say, oh, well, they knew I was cleaning, and that, there might be some conflict of interest or something, because we know it happens. We have families that work with each other, moms and daughters that clean. And so it's just, I think if you can get away from that and just have the inspector go in there and then report it as they see it, they're not going to, then that's up to the leadership team to handle that appropriately.
Yeah, there's a note in here, never call out
Mhm.
somebody for an issue or a mistake in public.
Mhm.
There's
Agreed.
a question on here, and it's certainly something that we hear a lot, as some of you guys are working with contractors, but also internal. One of the questions that came in was, how did you, I'm so proud of us. We made it all the way to 2:59 before we said anything about Breezeway, but how do you drive adoption and buy-in and ownership amongst your internal teams or your external cleaning partners for utilizing a software like Breezeway? That I didn't ask that. That's not my question, people. That is a question in the chat. So it is. I'm interested to hear it, but I didn't make it up.
I didn't have any issue. Like when we started using Breezeway, it was, this is the app. It's going to show you everything you need to know. This is how you get paid. And everybody was very comfortable with it. I mean, we had like a little question and answer session in the office with it. And, they know that they can make a comment that we can see right for that property. So they're not having to text us individually, so that anybody seeing that comment can help them out. I think everybody was really happy to start using it.
My biggest sale point for Breezeway, and it always has been, is cover your assets. And that's exactly what it does. It's the photos, it's the checklist, it's the things that we don't want them to have to stop and think about necessarily. I mean, they're brilliant, actually, because some of the things I see them do, I mean, oh, we should be doing this. They're brilliant. But we want to keep things as simple as possible for them on the other side of things as well. Like you said, this is how you get paid. This is what we use. It's a great app. it protects you if a guest comes in and says, oh, this wasn't taken care of. We have you. We have 200 photos. We have this covered. You're out of this now. We don't have to worry about going back to the cleaners. It's us and the owners at that point and the guests. It's nothing to do with the cleaners at that level. So it's just, as much as I can keep my team out of that, the better things flow and the better they understand, like, okay, I did not get a close enough picture of this. You know what I mean? Or it's just education too at the same time. It's all about educating them.
Who is Hines? You were asking if there's a link for referrals for tutorials on how to use Breezeway. We do have some stuff in our help guide, but if you want to shoot me an email, I'll put my email in the chat right now. And we are going to start offering some recurring webinars for specifically for cleaners and service partners and folks outside. What we kind of talk to is like the external vendors. So I can make sure to get that information shared with you. Last question, and then we're ending. Stephanie, can I put your email or would you put your email in the chat? Because there were some questions around the challenges that you're doing. And we'll let folks, we can let folks, connect with you directly if you want to learn more about those challenges that Stephanie talked to. We are out of time though, so I'm going to quickly end this by saying thank you, thank you, thank you. We could have gone hours on this. This is a topic that, no amount of time will ever fully encompass. So Stephanie, Cassie, Jennifer, thank you so much.